Welcome back to AMG 101. I'm Peyton.
And I am Sir Cameron.
All right, never say that again. We are in episode 6, and we are about to review this season that we just finished up, talk about the playoffs. So let's just jump right into it. And first thing we're going to talk about, we're going to hold ourselves accountable. Where were we wrong this season? Where our predictions weren't the best? And I'm going to start it off. I said the Cardinals and the Cowboys, that they were going to be contenders, making the playoffs, and they both missed the playoffs. Neither of them won the division, and kind of disappointing seasons for both, especially the Cardinals. I feel like because they were a team that just came off a playoff appearance and a playoff win, and I know they were expecting to get farther in this year for sure, especially with like some additions in the offseason. It seemed like this team was destined to make even further playoff run. And, they had some tough losses to the Bengals, which is a game I feel like they should have won. The Browns, again, they should have won. A couple games they can look back on and say, man, if we win this game, we're in the playoffs, have a chance to keep moving on. But, I mean, I thought they would make it in, but, didn't make it. And then the Cowboys, they had a fast start to the season. We were looking good. Started 4-0, and then it went downhill. They took 4 straight losses at one point in the year, and then ended the season with 4 straight losses. So that ending the year 1-8, it doesn't usually end well for a team. I have to say that. Cowboys definitely a disappointment for me anyway. I thought they were going to make the playoffs this year. I thought this was the year for them. Cam, why don't we hear about where you were wrong?
I do want to talk about the Cowboys for a second, and a little bit about the Cards. The Cards, they had glimpses of greatness where we thought, man, they might, go back to the playoffs and make a run. But like you said, they took some tough losses in some games I feel like they should have won. As for the Cowboys, that 4-0 start, or really a 6-2 start, and I was like, dang, all right, this team, they could be making a complete 180 and finally making the playoffs. It didn't work out. Like you said, 1-8. More than likely, if that happens, you're not going to make the playoffs. But getting to the Jets, all right, I really predicted them to win 2 games, maybe this year. Because, looking at their schedule, I was like, they won 7 games the past 2 years, and then looking at their schedule, I was like, I'm kind of worried about them. So, yeah, they really surprised me. When you look at Zach Wilson, you need your quarterback to take care of that ball. And this year, his 3rd year, I believe, he had a great, a lot better of a TD to int ratio. 31 TDs, 25 ints. In years past, it's always been more interceptions than touchdowns for him. 104.9 QB rating, good for him. But Emmett Wynn, 1,300 yards on the ground, 20 touchdowns. That was the game changer. This dude's been a stud. And now they find themselves in the playoffs. They're a 7th seed, and they're going up against Buffalo. But, hey, we all thought that, they were doomed. This team was just not great these first 2 years, but here they are in the playoffs. And my next thing where I was wrong, the Panthers, dude, I was thinking they were going to be Super Bowl contenders. Deshaun Watson, he had a pretty decent season. 4,000 yards, 35 touchdowns, only 13 interceptions, and then CMC led the league in rushing yards. And the thing that killed this team, they were 9-6. They were like, okay, let's win out. Let's go make the playoffs. Let's get a Super Bowl. They lose these last 2 games to the Lions and the Saints, unfortunately. Both one-score games. It's unfortunate. It's something you hate to see. But yeah, and then I was also very big on the Cardinals defense coming in this year. I was like, they're bringing in Levante David. Dude's a stud. He actually had a great year. Led the league in tackles with 50. Or led his team in the tackles with 50. Yeah, 3 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 6 interceptions, 2 touchdowns, coming into a new system. So yeah, he really showed out. But it was the thing, the rest of the team just didn't do that great. We're looking at the defense as a whole, 21st in points allowed, 25th in yards allowed, 26th in passing yards allowed. The rest of the team just didn't really help. So I'm going to say their defense kind of struggled there. That was a big thing I was wrong about. So, yeah.
Yeah, I got to agree. I was kind of big on the Panthers, too, coming into the year. Definitely thought they'd be a playoff team, especially with Deshaun. And, Deshaun didn't disappoint. He had a good year. It's just couldn't quite squeak in there, especially in that stacked NFC South. Even the Bucks, who didn't have a great year, still a good team. So always going to be tough games playing in that division. But we'll move on to just some surprises that we thought maybe something else was going to happen that this year, and we'll start with the Raiders. I think we even mentioned on this podcast earlier this season they were going to be a playoff team this season. This was their comeback year because they didn't make it last year. Like they're ready to come back and get back in this, especially with getting Aaron Rodgers. I mean that should guarantee you to the playoffs, I would
Yeah.
think. But they somehow finished the season at 7-10 and not in the playoffs. Cam, what do you think about that?
I mean, some of their big losses came, in games where I feel like they definitely should have won. I mean, they lost to the Packers. I mean, they only won 4 games. They lost to the Vikings, only a 5-win team. Um, yeah, they just kind of fell apart, I guess. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he played fine, but I mean, I guess, the rest of his team didn't really do him any favors, it looks like. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is going to be a season like the Raiders just look back on and really are disappointed because they got the guy with Aaron Rodgers and just can't take advantage of it. Especially like I mean, with some of those losses that should have been wins, and then some close losses too, like to the Chiefs, only lost by 4 in their second game. Week
But
1
don't
lost
get
to
me
the
wrong, though.
Steelers by
Don't get me wrong
5.
about the Raiders. They do have spurts of greatness. They beat the Bills 44-22. So
Yeah.
just because they went 7-10 this year, they lost some close games here. Uh, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they take a complete turnaround next year. So,
All right, let me ask you this question before we move on, Cam. Is Aaron Rodgers back in Las Vegas next year, or is he going to retire?
ooh, I'm gonna make a bold prediction here. I'm gonna say he retires after this season. I'm
Wow.
saying it's done.
Could be the
So
last season.
now that I think about it, if they don't have A Rod, we could be looking at like another 7-win season. So it really depends on if A Rod comes back.
Yeah, I mean, he's going into his 20th year. You got to think going to be 41. He's going to
Exactly.
consider it, I feel like, but we'll just have to wait and see on that one. And then we'll move to the AFC North, and I think every year almost we've came into the season just assuming the Ravens were a lock. I mean, you
Yeah.
got Lamar
Yeah.
Jackson, and their defense has been good, but Steelers surprise everyone and end up winning the division by getting that tie against the Browns in Week 18 to get them into the playoffs. And I especially with the way the Steelers season ended, I felt like the Ravens were making that comeback, and they might be able to actually come back and win the division, especially with their slow start. But man, the Steelers lock it in; they're in the playoffs. I am shocked by this, Cam. I got to be honest with you.
Honestly, we were really high. I mean, on the Steelers, they had like a very good start at the beginning of the year, I believe.
Yeah.
Baker was playing lights out, but
Yep.
I don't know what's been going on with this team, dude. I think they've won 2 of their last 6 games, and then they almost lost to the Browns, which I mean, Browns, we know they're kind of lower on the totem pole in the league, and they tied them. So I think whoever they play in this first round, they're done. But yeah, I think after watching that game, seeing them tie Browns. Yeah, I don't think it's going to end well for them. But despite that, Darren Waller, Baker Mayfield, great pickups by the Steelers at
Oh
the end of
yeah.
the day.
Oh yeah,
Especially Darren
definitely.
Waller, 1,200 yards, 13 touchdowns, leading his team in yards, receptions, and touchdowns. So that was great for them in the offseason.
And then the question, I mean, I'm almost more shocked at not that the Steelers were that good. It's just that the Ravens not being good enough to win their division is just crazy to me. Especially they gave Lamar that gigantic contract, and then he comes out, he has a mediocre season. Like I'm not impressed by those numbers that Lamar put up. Um, and I almost wonder like, are the Ravens like, man, should we have given him this contract? Yeah, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but I mean, he's gotta keep earning that title. It's not just gonna be a given. Like you got to lead your team to the playoffs every year, in my opinion, if you're one of those elite quarterbacks in the league.
Thinking about that contract, it's funny because the Ravens are 31st in passing yards in the league.
Wow.
That's
Yeah,
crazy
that is
after that
wild.
contract.
I mean, he did have a good year of running the ball. He had 800 rushing yards, but still, you got to be able to throw the ball sometimes. And it didn't seem like he was there for him this year.
And the thing is, they added Tony Pollard as well, and I
Yep.
feel like if they would have got him a little bit more involved, I mean, we could be, looking at the Ravens as NFC or AFC North champions. But I just feel like they didn't use him enough.
Yeah,
I don't know.
they
He
kind of
wasn't putting up the numbers I thought he was going to.
Yeah, they ended up splitting their backfield in kind of 3 with Tony Pollard and B.J. Duvall and Javonte Williams, which they traded for last year and got rid of J.K. Dobbins for. So I kind of expected him to be a big part of the offense. Only 31 carries, so like I don't know. It seems like he kind of fell down the roster as the depth chart as we moved up through the season. But
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what happens this offseason with him.
And then
So
another thing, didn't Lamar get injured here
Lamar, he
late in the
got
season?
hurt in the last week, which Tyler Huntley came in, filled it, did pretty well, honestly. But yeah, he got hurt that last week of the
Yeah,
season.
that's
Um,
unfortunate.
so so yeah, you get broken collarbone, which is not ideal for a quarterback. We'll move on and talk about the Bucks and the Dolphins. And now these are two teams that have been making the playoffs in previous seasons. They decide to go in a different direction. You know, the Bucks didn't re-sign Tom Brady. The Dolphins decided to bench to draft a new guy. So both with rookie quarterbacks who I still expected with the cast around them, the supporting cast, that they were going to make the playoffs this year. But both of those teams come up short of a playoff berth, and I'm shocked by it because I believed in those two teams. But it's interesting to see with the decisions that were made this offseason.
Yeah, I was kind of big on Daniel Singh, just watching him play early in the season,
Yeah,
seeing him move outside the pocket, making those throws on the run. I mean, he did well. 33 touchdowns, 19 interceptions, and then he added 10 rushing touchdowns on the ground as well. So I think this team's going to be back. Honestly, for the Dolphins and that rookie QB they have, I'm not really high on him. I personally, I think I would have started Tua, developed him a little bit. I'm not liking their guy. That's
I
that's
got
my main thing about them.
I'm a little believer in Steinbach, but Steinbach. I don't know how you say it,
Yeah,
but whatever his
yeah.
name is, I'm a little bit of a believer in him. But I will say I tuned into a few Dolphins games, and I saw a few "We Want Tua" signs out in the crowd. So I don't know about that fan base, how they're feeling about this. I guess we'll see if Carl can get them together next season and lead them to a playoff berth. But let's move on. We are going to talk about the playoffs, which are about to start soon. And first thing, let's talk about our dark horses for each side. In the NFC, my dark horse, who I think maybe be making it further than people think, is going to be the Chicago Bears. Now, it might be a little bit questionable of a dark horse considering they were the number one seed last year, but they did get a wild card spot. Didn't win the division, sitting at 11-6. And I got to be honest with you, this team is one of my favorites in the league. Could be one of my possibly my Super Bowl winner if there wasn't some other teams, but their defense is just insane to watch. I know against the Giants earlier this season, they had an insane game, 5 sacks for Khalil Mack. Like when that defense is on, like they better watch out. And I know their first matchup against the Falcons is not ideal for the Falcons because James Williams known to struggle in the big bright spots, and with that defense going against him, I would not feel great if I'm a Falcons fan. But I think the Bears have the potential to make it all the way to NFC Championship, possibly Super Bowl.
Speaking of the Falcons, I know they're playing the Bears in the first round, and I know people would probably think I'm a Falcons hater, but really I'm a James Williams hater. And we saw this guy perform in the playoffs last year, under the bright lights on AMG Live, and he folded completely. I think he threw 7 interceptions. The game was over in like the second quarter. And now he's going up against the best defense in AMG. Yeah, it's the Falcons are done. That's all I wanted to say about that. But for my dark horses, you know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I know I said they were only gonna get 2 wins, but I'm just gonna say it. The Jets, they're my dark horse. Look out for them to maybe snag a couple playoff wins and make a
Wow.
run because this team has completely changed their offense. They're fully just gone full in on the RPO. Zach Wilson's playing just completely different than these past 2 seasons. He's been looking good. And Emmett Wynn, man. Emmett freaking Wynn, 1,300 yards, 20 touchdowns. I think he's a second year, right? He's a second year running back.
Yeah, again.
Okay, but I'm gonna say they're my dark horse, and then my other dark horse, the Lions. I think we all kind of were like, they're kind of falling apart here early in the season. I believe they were what, like 2-5,
Something like that, yeah.
something like that. It just wasn't looking like the Lions that we were used to. Jared Goff was starting off slow. But I'm gonna say, looking at how they finished at the second half of the season, they started 2-5. They finished 11-6 and won the NFC North. Took it away from the Bears. Jared Goff, 5,600 passing yards, 44 touchdowns. And here's the real kicker: Curtis Samuel. We love the guy. He used to play for the Panthers. 118 catches, 1,900 yards, 12 touchdowns. This guy has just completely just boosted this offense into what I knew it could possibly be. But really, the thing that hurts them is the rushing game. If they get that going, I think they're a Super Bowl contender. But as of right now, I'm going to say they're probably going to snag a playoff win, maybe two. Who knows? They could probably sneak into the NFC Championship again. So that's my dark horse for the NFC.
Before I tell you my AFC dark horse, let me just tell you why I'm gonna disagree with you on the Jets and the Lions. On the Jets, I want to believe in the Jets. Underdog. No one expected this, but I think that Bills team is just it's just a machine, and it's too good. I don't know if the Jets can really match up with them. I mean, that offense is just full of superstars. So I don't know if they're going to be. I don't think they can get past them. I mean, the Bills have already beat the Jets twice this season, and I know how hard it is to beat a team 3 times. But that's just how much I believe in the Bills to beat.
Okay,
the
this
Jets
is what I'm going to say to you. All right, don't
okay.
doubt the Jets. Don't doubt them because that's what I did, and we saw what happened.
You know what?
So I'm not doubting them again.
The Jets. I'm just going to tell you that I'm doubting you, and that's nothing to do with you. It's just the Bills. Okay. You know what? I hope you prove me wrong. Use this as your motivation. All right. But also with the Lions, early in the year, I was the Jared Goff believer. I was picking him to win the MVP, and you know what? I kind of feel like he made a fool out of me, and I'm not going to let him do it again. So I think the Jared Goff is going to throw a few too many interceptions, and that's just going to lead them to a loss at some point in this playoffs. It's going to be on Jared Goff. I just have that feeling. And my AFC dark horse is going to be the Jaguars. Now they're sitting at 10-7, got a wild card berth, but I really think this team it can almost be a favorite. They're a former Super Bowl champion, and they're a good team for sure. They still have those pieces. They added Henry Ruggs. They might have lost a few guys on defense, but that offense has gotten better. I think that they have the ability to upset the Chiefs in Arrowhead. In the wild card, and I think they can move on and possibly pick up a few more wins. I don't know if they're Super Bowl material because there is another team I like better, but I would say the Jags have the ability to make the Super Bowl in my opinion. So you know what? Let's just give our Super Bowl matchups. Who's gonna win the Super Bowl? Cam, why don't you give us yours first?
Well, you had kind of touched on it earlier, but if I have to talk about the person or the team that I think is going to win AMG's 7th Super Bowl, I'm gonna have to say the Chicago Bears. We've saw their defense. You touched on it a little bit, but their defense, it's top 5 in every category. And I've watched this team play. They literally lock down teams like I've never seen before. They had some great additions here in the offseason. Khalil Mack, he's a freak. But I'm gonna say that they end up winning it all. But as far as the AFC goes, y'all know I'm really high on the Colts. Jonathan Taylor, Jordan Love, and then their receiving core is just, I feel like they're a very balanced team in all sides of the ball. Offensively, yeah. I mean, you got 3 receivers with almost 1,000 yards. And then you look at their defense. I mean, it's honestly just as good as the Bears on paper, with the numbers. So it's going to be interesting to see how both of these offenses play against these stout defenses. And I think it's going to be a really good Super Bowl. So,
I gotta say
the Bears pull it out.
If you're right, I feel like the Bears Colts in a Super Bowl, the first one to get to 20 points, I feel like is the winner in that situation. Because when those defenses go against each other, that is going to be a slugfest for sure if it were to happen. I am going to go in a different direction totally, and I am going to take the Bills from the AFC and the Rams from the NFC. And I know already before I even hear your opinion, Cam, I know how much you hate Keith Turner. You've made it very clear, and I know that's why you would never pick the Rams. But I've said it once, and I'll say it again. I think Keith Turner can do just enough to get this Rams team a Super Bowl. I mean, in my opinion, all he has to do is just protect the ball. And I know that can be difficult for sure. But, I mean, this Rams defense stacked with playmakers, and they're good enough to win you the game. And, I just think that defense is going to be able to lead them all the way to the Super Bowl, where they'll face off against – if that defense is against this Bills offense, that field is going to be crazy with superstars. I mean, think about some of these matchups. You got Stephon Diggs against Jalen Ramsey. That is going to be a great thing to watch if it were to happen. And I personally am hoping it does because I would love to watch that game. I don't know who would win, but I'm going to have to make a prediction here, and I'm going to take the Rams. I think they had to do just enough to shut them down. Keith Turner has his Super Bowl moment, proves the haters wrong, Cam, and he wins the Rams the Super Bowl this year in AMG Season 7.
I know that you love the Rams defense and whatnot, but Keith Turner, 20 touchdowns, 24 interceptions. This guy hasn't had more touchdowns than interceptions in his career. So I don't care how good the defense is. I'm going to say that Keith Turner blows it, and they're not making a Super Bowl. Just straight up.
You know what, Cam? When you're wrong, I can't wait to tell you about it. All right.
All right. We will
We'll
talk
have a
about that in our next episode.
Next episode, I can't wait to tell you how wrong you were. All right. Well, thanks guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully, some of our predictions are right this time, right?
Let's hope so.
All right. Thanks. Bye.